When your budgie suddenly bites you, what do you think they're trying to say? Most people assume the answer immediately. Their bird is becoming aggressive, or difficult, or mean. But in most cases, that interpretation is completely wrong, because budgies almost never bite without a reason. And the dangerous part is this: if you keep misunderstanding those reasons, your bird slowly learns something you never wanted to teach them, that their softer warnings don't work. So eventually, they stop giving soft warnings altogether. And what makes this even more confusing is that some bites come from fear, some come from stress, some from pain, and one of them actually comes from affection. By the end of this video, you're going to see every bite your budgie has ever given you differently, because most budgie bites are not acts of aggression, they're messages, and the first message is the one almost every owner misses completely. 1. The bite that never felt random to your budgie. This is the bite that seems to come out of nowhere. You reach toward your bird, maybe to pick them up, maybe to change their food, maybe just to let them step onto your finger. And suddenly, they bite fast, sharp, almost automatic. So fast it feels emotional, like they made a decision about you, but they usually didn't, because right before most budgies bite, something changes in their body. And unless you know exactly what to look for, you'll never notice it. Their feathers tighten close to the body, their posture stiffens, their weight shifts backward slightly. Sometimes the eyes widen for just a second. Sometimes the beak opens barely enough to notice. Those are not attack signals. They're distance signals. Your budgie is trying to say, "Please stop. Please slow down. Please give me another second." But most humans don't recognize hesitation in birds because it looks nothing like hesitation in people. And by the time the bite happens, your budgie already feels cornered, especially inside the cage. To us, a cage feels safe. To a budgie, it also feels small. And when a hand enters that space too quickly, the bird suddenly loses what matters most to prey animals, an escape route. So the bite becomes the final option left. Not because your budgie hates you, because they ran out of other ways to ask. And here's the part that changes future behavior. Every time you ignore those early signals and continue anyway, your budgie learns something. That subtle communication doesn't work. So next time, they skip straight to the bite faster. The bite wasn't the first message, it was the last one. But the next kind of bite is even more confusing because in many cases, you accidentally taught it yourself. 2. The bite your budgie practiced with you. Have you ever played with your budgie using your fingers, wiggling them around, letting your bird chase them, tapping lightly near them so they hop around excitedly? Most owners think it's harmless. Some even think it's bonding. And at first, it looks adorable. Your budgie gets excited. They peck playfully. You laugh, they chase your moving hand. But your budgie's brain is learning something during every one of those interactions. Moving fingers become targets. And over time, the line between play and normal handling, starts disappearing. So one day you reach in calmly to refill water, and your budgie suddenly bites the exact same fingers they used to play with. To them, the context changed. But the target didn't. And what makes this worse is the reaction most humans have afterward. They pull away instantly, fast movement, sudden retreat. To a prey animal, that movement triggers excitement immediately, because fleeing movement activates instinct. Now the bite becomes stimulating, interesting, sometimes even rewarding. Without realizing it, the interaction accidentally trains repetition. This is why some budgies become more bitey over time, even in loving homes, not because they're becoming aggressive. Because they practiced a behavior repeatedly without understanding the difference between play and boundaries. And thankfully, this is one of the easiest biting patterns to fix. The biggest change is simple. Stop turning your hands into toys. Use small perches, use shredding toys, use objects that create separation between skin and play. And slowly, your budgie starts relearning something important. Hands are not prey. Hands are not games, hands are safe. But the next bite is the one that confuses even experienced owners. Because this one doesn't happen during stress. It happens during perfect moments. 3. The bite that comes after closeness. This bite feels personal because everything seems fine right before it happens. Your budgie is relaxed. Their feathers are soft. They're sitting quietly on your shoulder or finger. Maybe they're grinding their beak softly. Maybe they've been with you peacefully for several minutes, and then suddenly, they bite, not hard enough to seriously injure you, but enough to completely ruin the moment. And emotionally, this is the bite that hurts owners the most because it feels like rejection during trust. But here's what most people never realize: budgies can become overstimulated even during positive experiences. Especially intelligent social birds, their nervous systems have limits. The same interaction that felt comforting 30 seconds ago can suddenly become overwhelming once that threshold is crossed. Too much touch, too much attention, too much closeness for too long. And unlike humans, budgies don't have language sophisticated enough to explain emotional overload gently, so the nervous system reacts instantly through the beak. Not out of anger, out of overflow. And strangely, this kind of bite usually happens most with devoted owners, the people who spend real time with their birds. The people who built enough trust for the budgie to stay close that long in the first place. That's why these bites feel so confusing, because the relationship wasn't failing, it was actually working. Your budgie felt safe enough to remain beside you until their system reached its limit. And the biggest mistake owners make after this bite is emotional withdrawal. They stop interacting. They become nervous. They assume the bird suddenly dislikes them. But your budgie wasn't trying to end the connection. They were trying to regulate it. Sometimes the healthiest bonding moments happen when you simply learn when to pause. Because trust doesn't grow from constant interaction. It grows from respecting limits before the other side is forced to defend them. But the next type of bite feels completely different, because this one has nothing to do with emotions at all. 4. The bite caused by biology. Sometimes your budgie changes almost overnight. A bird that used to step up happily suddenly avoids hands. A bird that loved attention becomes irritable. A calm budgie starts biting repeatedly for weeks, and most owners immediately panic. What changed? What did I do wrong? Did I break trust somehow? But sometimes, nothing happened between you at all, because budgies are heavily controlled by biological cycles most owners never think about: longer daylight hours, hormonal seasons, warmer temperatures, nesting instincts. Even mirrors inside the cage, tiny environmental changes can completely shift behavior. And during these periods, your budgie's internal state changes dramatically, not emotionally, chemically. Suddenly, they're more territorial, more reactive, more sensitive to handling. A bird that normally tolerates affection may suddenly want space from everyone, including you. And what makes hormonal biting so emotionally exhausting is how personal it feels, especially after you've worked hard building trust. But avian specialists see this pattern constantly. Owners become convinced their bird permanently changed, then weeks later, same budgie slowly returns, same personality, same habits, same comfort around you, like nothing ever happened. Because the behavior was temporary, biology took over for a while. And during these periods, forcing interaction usually makes everything worse. The more pressure your budgie feels, the more defensive they become. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is reduce handling, respect distance, and wait for the cycle to pass naturally. You're not being abandoned. You're simply watching instincts older than domestication activate inside a tiny nervous system. But the next reason budgies bite is the one that matters most, because this bite can be a warning, and sometimes only warning you'll ever get. 5. The bite that means something hurts. Budgies are prey animals, and prey animals survive by hiding weakness. In the wild, visible pain attracts predators. Weakness becomes dangerous, so budgies evolve to conceal discomfort incredibly well, which means many sick or injured birds still eat, still chirp, still sit normally, at least for a while. And that's why pain-related biting catches owners completely off guard, because the bird often looks fine. Until one specific interaction happens, you touch their back, or help them step up, or accidentally press near an injury. And suddenly, they bite harder than ever before, not because they became aggressive, because pain bypasses patience instantly. Arthritis, a healing injury, a damaged feather follicle, internal illness. Joint pain from bad landings, things humans can't see immediately, can still create strong defensive reactions. And the terrifying part is this: sometimes biting becomes the very first visible symptom, the only clue something is wrong, especially if the biting behavior is sudden and unusual. Avian veterinarians often tell owners to watch for patterns. Does the bite happen when touching one particular area? Does your budgie flinch unexpectedly? Have they become protective over certain movements? Because sometimes a bird isn't saying, "Leave me alone." They're saying, "That hurts." And for a creature this small, that message matters a lot. But the final reason budgies bite changes the meaning of this entire video, because sometimes your budgie bites you for the exact opposite reason you feared. 6. The bite that means affection. If your budgie has ever sat beside you peacefully, completely relaxed, eyes soft, feathers loose, and then gently nibbled your finger or skin, you may have misunderstood one of the biggest compliments a budgie can give, because not every bite is defensive. Some are social. In the wild, budgies use gentle beak contact constantly with birds they trust. They groom each other, clean feathers, touch beaks softly, explore gently around the face and head. It's bonding behavior to flock behavior. And when your budgie does soft, relaxed little nips with you, they're often extending that same social language toward a human, toward you. You can usually tell the difference immediately once you know what to watch for. The body stays relaxed, the pressure stays soft. They're not trying to escape afterward. Sometimes they even settle closer after doing it. There's no tension in the interaction, only comfort. And sadly, many owners accidentally reject this behavior because they panic and pull away instantly. To humans, teeth usually signal danger, but to budgies, gentle beak contact can signal trust, belonging. Your budgie isn't confused about what you are. They know you're different, but emotionally, they're still choosing to include you inside their social world. And for a prey animal small enough to fear almost everything, that's a massive act of trust. So next time your budgie bites you, pause before assuming the worst, because behind most bites is not hatred, not aggression, not revenge. Usually it's fear, stress, confusion, overstimulation, pain, or sometimes something strangely beautiful, a tiny bird trying to communicate with the only language they have.